Nkateko Manganyi explains what a nuisance complaint entails, and she shares about a particular case in the agricultural sector which caused quite a stink. Now, Nkateko, what is a nuisance complaint? Explain to us.
All right, Lisa, it's important that when we discuss a nuisance complaint, we know what a nuisance is in a legal context. In a legal context, a nuisance complaint would arise as a result of the violation of one's right to the undisturbed use and enjoyment of their property by another person.
So what kind of nuisances can we find in a legal action?
All right, in a legal action, you can find nuisances that arise because of a variety of circumstances. It could be as a result of a noise. It could be as a result of a physical protrusion, like a tree root on the border of two properties, or it could be as a result of pollution in the form of a foul odor, so a bad smell. However, today, I'd like us to discuss a nuisance complaint specifically with regards to pollution in the form of a foul smell, but in an agricultural context. So this will differ from the situation or the same complaints in an urban or residential area, because that will be governed by the municipal bylaws of the municipality that is applicable in that specific area. So the interesting case with regards to the stink that we'll be discussing today is that of J.H. Jacobs N.O. and the Hilton Grange Pty company and others. So what happened in this case is that grape farmers took their neighboring mushroom farmer to court because of the horrible smell that was coming from his mushroom farm. So this smell was because of the substrate or the compost that he used in order to grow his mushrooms. So what happened is that this now emitted these harmful gases that created this horrible, horrible smell. So this smell is a potent urine and rotten egg smell. And it was decided that it was so disgusting that the neighbors couldn't enjoy the simple use of their property, like opening a window, opening a door, or even having their visitors over for a braai. And in some really, really bad cases, you'd find that they'd have headaches and even sinus attacks.
Sure. So under what circumstances can you lodge a nuisance complaint?
Okay, so when lodging a nuisance complaint, it's important to first decide how serious that violation or that nuisance is in order to actually lodge the complaint. And a good way is also to decide, would someone else in your position also think that that nuisance is a serious violation of their rights? Therefore, are you being reasonable? And in the case that we were just discussing now, that grape farmer went to the neighboring grape farmers and also people who lived in and around the farms and inquired with them what their experience was with the smell and also the severity of the smell to try and gauge whether they were being reasonable in lodging that complaint.
And what is the procedure?
All right, so the procedure with regards to lodging such a complaint, what I would advise is that you calmly approach the person who is creating the nuisance. Because in most cases, people are actually not aware that whatever action or activities that they are performing on their property are actually a nuisance to the people around them. And thereafter, request them to stop doing whatever action or activity it is that is now creating that nuisance. Should that approach not work, then I'd advise that you contact an attorney who will then approach or rather solve the matter in a more formal way.
But how does the court determine if this complaint is a nuisance complaint?
All right, so with regards to something like this, there's no hard and fast rule to determine whether there has been a violation of the rights to your undisturbed use and enjoyment of your property. So then the court will have to balance or weigh rights. So the court will then have to balance the right that you have to the use of your property against another party's rights. So what they'll essentially do is compare the harm that has been done with the harm that is created by this nuisance that one is now doing in this regard. So in this specific matter with Jacobs, what the court then had to do was weigh the rights of the grape farmers to have an environment that is not detrimental to their health and their well-being, and the smell forms part of that, with now the mushroom farmers' rights to then choose their own trade and how they perform that trade.
Now, Nkateko, what are some of the factors that the court will take into consideration to make a decision how to balance the rights?
All right, so some of the factors that the court will take into consideration are how serious the violation is, Also, the personality of the person who's bringing the complaints. Therefore, is the person being reasonable? Are they being overly sensitive? And also what we can do to try and reduce the effect of the violation, and also the practicality in now implementing restrictive conditions in order to rectify the damage that has already been done. But again, these are just some factors that the courts will take into consideration. They aren't hard and fast rules, but rather a guideline that they'll use in order to try and bring that to a balance.
Oh, that was a good discussion we had with Nkateko Manganyi about a particular case in the agricultural sector, and that is a nuisance complaint.